Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of the Red Shadows Xbox 360 collection. We're going to jump right back in here. We're in the D's and we're going to start with a couple of my favorite 360 games, and that is Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide. My Riptide is the special edition that I got at Walmart, so just like a bonus upgrade that a few retailers got. And all that was really extra on this, I'm not even sure. Probably something you could download or whatever. But what I wanted to speak about on these really quick is I think Dead Island, the Dead Island series has been a really underrated series. Like, the first game had the epic commercial, and if you haven't seen it, you should go search for it on YouTube. They did this really amazing, it's like slow-mo reverse video showing these things happening to this family in a hotel when the zombie outbreak happens. Unfortunately, a lot of people thought that because of this trailer that showed no gameplay footage whatsoever, because of that trailer and then what they got in the game, people were disappointed. I'm like, how in the world, if you're smart enough, if you've got a brain in your head and you watch a trailer with no gameplay, how could you be disappointed by the gameplay because of the trailer? You're disappointed just because you didn't like the game. It had nothing to do with the trailer. The trailer really didn't show anything. I don't know. But they're both good games. It's like a first-person game, but there's not that much shooting. You don't get a lot of guns because you don't get a lot of ammo. You'll spend more time hitting things with machetes, baseball bats, and you can craft things to make weapons that are even more sinister. You know, you can put electricity to a sickle or something like that. It's fun. I thought the games were good. Check them out if you want, but it's kind of a divisive series, I found. Next game up here is Deus Ex Human Revolution. This is the 360. This particular generation's Deus Ex game. A lot of people seem to like this a lot, but I will probably not play this until I've played my other Deus Ex, the original games. Excuse me, because that's just kind of the way that I am about that stuff. Here's what I consider to be a really cool game, something I'm sad that I kind of got distracted away from, but I'm like that with everything. Anyway, this is Dishonored. This is a first-person kind of game. I guess in some ways similar to Dead Island. It's not a shooter, but you see everything in first person. And you are this particular guy here, Corvo Attano, and you've been framed for something that you didn't do, and you have to use your skills and abilities to either take out everybody who's wronged you, or just stealthily get to a point in the game where you can out the people who did the wrong things. I haven't played a whole lot into it. It was fun, has some interesting abilities that you can do, almost magical abilities, but it is a game that gives you a choice between being stealthy and not killing anyone, or just killing everybody left and right. You can still get to an ending in the game, and they advertise this as choice, but if you choose to kill everybody and not be super stealthy, which for me at times was really tough, you actually get a worse ending. So I don't like the fact that they said, hey, you can have any choice you want, but if you do it this way, it's bad. Alright, next up here we have Doom 3 BFG Edition. I literally bought this from a friend at work just a couple weeks ago. I'm not the biggest Doom fan, but I wanted to have the third game in my collection regardless. Up next we have Duke Nukem Forever, and if anybody knows the story on this game, you'll know that this game was like 11, 12, 13 years in the works. It'd been around for so long, we were beginning to think it was never going to come out, and then they had the gall to name it Forever because that's how long it took. That being said, the biggest knock on this is simply that it looks like a game that's been in the works forever. It doesn't look and feel like a modern game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It's loaded with Duke Nukem humor and all the touches you would imagine from Duke Nukem. And for what little I did get to play it, it wasn't horrible, in my opinion. And two things I wanted to show here. One, I have like a trucker-style cap for Duke Nukem Forever, something that I got from my job. And it just dawned on me a moment ago that I skipped over a game yet again, because it's one of these big box games, so it's not stacked up with the rest. But anyway, this was a cheap deal that I got on Newegg.com a few years back. This is Death Smiles. It's the limited edition version in the box. I've never opened it. Basically, this is a shmup, or a shoot-'em-up style game, you know, where the ship flies along sideways and shoots at the enemies that come towards it. It's not my style of game, but because of the price, like I said, about $10, and it being a special edition, it's got a Death Smiles Premium Arranged Soundtrack CD, the limited edition, or just the game itself, and an actual Death Smiles faceplate for the 360. I've never put a faceplate on my console. This is the only faceplate that I own, but it was kind of cool to get it in a game like that and for such a good deal. Okay, going back to our previously scheduled program and back into the alphabet the way it should be. Anyway, Dungeon Siege 3 is the next game that I have. I wanted to grab this game simply because, well, for one, it's Square. It seemed to have good reviews at the time, but I haven't really ever played it. I don't know what the Dungeon Siege 1 and 2 came out on either. Now we're going to jump to some games that are a lot more well-known and popular, and I really enjoy, even though I've barely scratched the surface of them. We have the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Game of the Year Edition. I showed my Morrowind and my Xbox collection. This is Oblivion and the DLC Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles on the console. I also have this for the PC because I've never had a good enough PC, or at least not a PC with a good graphics card. This is my preferable copy. And then, of course, there's Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim. This is a nice looking box, as I'm sure you're seeing here. This is the collector's edition Skyrim. Excuse me, but of course I'd be showing you the rest of it if it wasn't for the fact that I don't have it. I bought this with a special art book or something like that came with this, which I forgot to snag. But the rest of this was a big box, and then the dragon statue, a really awesome statue. But the copy that I bought was just this and that booklet for a lot less than the ones with the statue. But eventually I'd like to get the rest of the box and statue and kind of complete this. Skyrim as a game, I don't know, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know something about it. I think the game is amazing, but I also think that it's so overwhelming that I've barely spent any time in it because there's just so much stuff to do in that game. Okay, I mentioned earlier with Blue Dragon that there was a handful of select RPGs that I was really looking to get in my collection for the 360, and this is another one of them here. This is called Enchanted Arms. I don't think this is considered to be a very good game, but I'd heard a lot about it and wanted to have it so that one of these days I'd get a chance to play it. Up next we have a game from my favorite games series, and that's Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. So check that video out if you want to know a little bit more about it, but needless to say, I think this game's amazing. Next up we have Far Cry 2, of which I've only dabbled a little bit because it was the older game in the series and I'd already played the next game. This one kind of didn't feel as fun or as amazing as this game, Far Cry 3, another game in my favorite game series, so check that video out if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this. But needless to say, this one I find to be amazing, and I'm looking forward to number 4, which comes out later this year. Alright, up next we have Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 13-2, which is my special, I believe this was a Best Buy exclusive. It comes with Final Fantasy 13 Episode 1 Novella Impact, which is just this book that's in the extra part of the game. Those I showed off in my Final Fantasy 7 favorite game series, but I've only played a little of 13, and it was okay, but I probably hadn't got far enough through the game to determine really whether or not I thought it was just meh or if it was pretty decent. Next up we have one of the big series for Microsoft on the 360, and that's Gears of War. I was really excited to play this, and then I played it, and I wasn't so excited afterwards. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it just didn't really do anything for me. Next up we have Grand Theft Auto 4, which I guess if I had to be honest right now, and this probably deserves more time for me to play it, but it feels like the weakest link in the entire Grand Theft Auto series from 3 on up to 5. It's kind of not very memorable for me for the time that I put into it. And next up we have episodes from Liberty City, which was The Lost and Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony. These were the DLCs that were released for 4, and then they put it on this separate disc that doesn't even require you to have the original game to play them. And this one may look familiar to some people. This is my Xbox 360 copy of Gun. I've covered in both my GameCube and original Xbox collections how I was tracking down all the different versions of this, and I have my 360 version. It's definitely the best looking of them, but this game pales in comparison to the great and almighty Red Dead Redemption. Alright, next up we have Halo Anniversary. This is the 360 HD remake or re-release of the original Halo game, which was something I wanted to get in my collection. I bought this from the same friend who I bought Doom 3 BFG edition, but I haven't played this, so I don't really know what it looks like and how it compares to the original Halo. Then I have Halo 3, and much like that game and the Halo games from my Xbox collection, I just haven't played the Halo games or really gotten into them, so I don't have much of an opinion about them right now. And we got my last 2 games for this part. We got Hitman Absolution. And this is a Walmart exclusive copy that had the High Roller suit and the Krugermeyer 2.2 pistol, whatever that means. I played a little bit of this, which I didn't want to until I played the original games, but I decided to give it a shot. It was actually really, really fun, so I'm looking forward to someday jumping back into Absolution. And here's my last game in part 2 of my 360 collection, and that's Homefront. This game, I thought it was pretty decent. I played a little bit of it for a while just to get a taste of it, and found myself playing it for a few more hours than I expected. So it's pretty good. I think it's fun, interesting storyline, and something to look for because I don't think it's that expensive nowadays. Alright, well that wraps up part 2. Stick around for part 3, coming up very soon.